Dragon Rampant. Welcome to the plains of, Ukkert? Today we're going to be playing the second scenario, well, I guess it's scenario B, actually, in this wonderful little rule set. It is called the Sacred Mole of Ukkert. Over there in the distance, you can see the home base of the Necromancer. Welcome to Skull Mountain. Our heroic knights have successfully completed a lovely little dungeon delve, and they have secured the Egg of Ukkert, which is contained in this neat little box. You like that? That is a 15mm chest that I carved out of a piece of balsa wood. It's very easy, and then I painted it to suit. And now our knights are going to have to carry the football over the goal line to the far south. Using a slightly tweaked army list for the sake of the knights, let's take a look at those guys, and I'm just going to deploy them right here to show you where they start. We're making a couple of changes, tweaking the list just a little bit. The guys over here on the right, this is still King Hopper. Every unit within 6 inches of this guy gets a +1 on the morale. This is a heavy rider unit. The guys with the lances are going to be our elite riders. They have wild charge. They want to charge a bunch. Last time I kept getting confused about who is who. Lancers, wild charge. Of course, they both have counter charge. In the middle is our troop, just light foot. They got the spears. They can form shield wall, but their job is to carry the ball over the line. We do have archers in the back. Everybody has to start, within 6 inches of Skull Mountain. And over here on the Roman Empire, I think these are Roman Empire Imperial troops. I got one more unit. Ooh, let me fix the shake there. I got one more unit of spears, and then we do have our first appearance of the Lesser Warbeasts. They move 6 inches. They ignore rough terrain, which is going to come in handy. By the way, in the last episode, one of the mistakes I made, rough terrain is actually very simple. Everybody that's in or fighting someone in rough terrain has their attack and defense values reduced to 5 up. If you are in the rough terrain when you are fighting or shot at, your armor goes up by 1. It's just that simple. Everybody's movement is cut in half unless you have movement cut in half is negated by fleet feet. If you have ranger, your dice remain as shown on your profile. So these guys down here, these lesser warbeasts are going to move 6 inches a turn, and they are both rangers and fleet of foot, but they do have wild charge. Otherwise, I'd give the zoomies the MacGuffin, and that ain't going to happen. Let's take a look at the Necromancer force. The Necromancer is going to be using the exact same roster as he did in the last fight. This is him in the front. He is with a unit of elite foot, strength of 6. We've got bellicose foot over here on your left as you look at it, and then we've got a unit of mixed light foot. I don't know if I made this clear in the last episode. See this guy right here? He's got the bow. These light foot do have the mixed weapons, so they can shoot up to 6 inches on, I believe it's a 5-up. And then the unit here in the back, these are scrubs. These are hordes, and of course, the big boys. These are our greater warbeasts. Now, who's going to start on the battlefield? Our leader will start right here in the middle. The elite foot do have rangers, so it's going to take him a little bit of time to get out of there. But by starting here, he is going to be able to use his first turn to summon one of the undead units. That's the hordes, the greater warbeasts, and the mixed unit. He can summon them within 6 inches of himself, so he can kind of steal a march by summoning them up here. What we're going to do is the bellicose foot will start over on the left-hand side, and they'll move up through this rough ground. All of the grassland you see is rough ground. None of it blocks line of sight for shooting purposes, but it all does give you that 5/5 attack defense and +1 armor if you are in it when you are fighting. I'm also going to start with the mixed foot over here on the right on the table already, which means the Necromancer will have the option of summoning the greater warbeasts and these little hordelings. He's going to start with the greater warbeasts, then he's going to move up and he'll use the hordelings to kind of serve as a speed bump wherever he can throw them to slow down the knights. Now this is a 25-point army. He does get the little bit of bonus for that, but he doesn't get the +1 when he's summoning because there's no graveyards on the table as before. The knights are going to go first. So I'm going to set these guys up like I told you, and then I'm just going to zoom in on the knights, and we'll figure out who gets to move on that first turn. I had to make a little bit of an adjustment here. Skull Mountain is supposed to be in the corner, this corner in particular. So I've redeployed all of the units within 6 inches per the scenario. There's not enough room for this light foot to deploy at the start of the game. it will require a successful move action. We'll declare where they are entering the battlefield, then we'll make the roll, and then if they make the roll, then they can move on. I've made the same adjustment down in the southwest corner. This box has to get off the southwest corner of the table. I left all the other terrain the same. You'll see how I redeployed the Necromancer in just a moment. But before we roll for the opening movement on this side, we need to figure out what King Hopper's special ability is for this game. With a result of a 10, he is strong. During attacks, he may re-roll 1 failed hit dice. When he attacks, this unit gets to re-roll 1 miss. Good to know. With that out of the way, we can start to move. And of course, given that we've got a MacGuffin there, we want to move that first. Let's see how we do. A result of a 7 for the Lightfoot on movement is going to be success. The Lightfoot move on a 5-up, and they move a total of 4 inches. So we did give this to the Speedies. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up to kind of show you where the 4 inches is, and then I'll do all of the movement. I ain't buying no movement trays. Come on. Come on. But what I will do is roll for King Hopper to see if he moves. On an 8, Heavy Riders move on a 5-up. He is going to be able to move 6 inches. So we're going to bring him, let's bring him up to there. And then these other riders are also going to try to move. Now they move on a 7-up. So they fail, and that is going to be the end of movement for the forces of King Hopper. Our summoner is going to try to bring on the greater war beasts. He succeeds on a 6-up. On a 7, he does. And if we drop a ruler down, they're going to appear right about here. They are rangers, so that will slow them down, but they aren't going to be affected otherwise. That's his movement. Then we're going to try to move our bellicose foot, and on a snake eyes, they're not going to move. The next order of business is do we bring these guys up first and maybe leave them naked and undefended in the front? I don't think so. Let's go ahead and try to move our king again. Snake Eyes will do it. He's going to ride 6 inches to protect that flank, as will all of his buddies. See, there he is, way out there on the flank. And I think with that one little bit of help, we are safe to try to move the MacGuffin, and 11 will do it. They're going to move 4 inches, and that's probably about it for now. I think the next bet is to move those lesser war beasts. On an 8, those guys are chomping at the bit. Lesser war beasts move on a 6-up, and we're going to bring the leader out 6 inches to here. And with these guys up there, do we want to move the bowmen, or do we want to try to bring these guys out? We got to move these guys out of the way first. On a 7-up, an 8 will do it. It's going to bring these guys out of the way. Hey, wait a minute. The riders all move 5 inches. I moved these guys a little bit too far. These guys are going to be able to move 5 inches up to here. And we'll choke them down like so. They're going to come sweeping around that flank. Then we can bring our spearmen on if we're lucky. And on a 5, Lightfoot will come in on a 5. So they come in within 6 inches. They're going to come in right here. And I think they can move, let's call it half their movement. They'll be able to move an additional 2 inches. So basically, we're just going to be able to bring them in like so. All right? And we've got one more unit left to go. Let's see if we can complete the clean sweep with those bowmen who move on a 6-up. We'll re-roll that one, and on a 7, they are going to be able to move. Now, they're not super fast, but we'll take those 3 inches. We'll take every little bit we can get, and we'll bring them around this way. And now, for the first time, you can kind of see who is where in relation to each other. We're going to bring these guys out first. They move on a 5-up. They get it with a 6, and then we'll bring the bellicose foot up on a 6 or higher, and they fail. So the only thing that happens is this light foot is able to go 4 inches this way. And the way the MacGuffin works, if you win a combat and force the ball handler to retreat, they will drop it right where they're at, and you can scoop it up on your next turn. But the Necromancer is not having a lot of luck getting his boys out of the corner, which may be fine, because them old boys over there got to get through the corner. We're going to go ahead and move the dogs up first. On a 9, we will be successful, and we'll be able to bring them up to within 1.5 inches of the Egg of Ukkert. To there. Then we're going to try to bring those archers up and right there. They move up on a 6, so they will move up their 3 inches to here, and basically just covering the backside so that if the ball gets lost, the Necromancer can win the game by picking up the ball and getting it back to Skull Mountain. The next thing we're going to do to ensure that doesn't happen is move this Lightfoot to block the way. They're not going to move. We got another turnover. And just like that, we are 2.5 turns into this game. It goes quick. Since we're not having much luck moving other people, let's get that Necromancer out of the corner. Elite Foot move on a 5 up. Or not. Since the Necromancer ain't moving, we're going to go ahead and get these guys into position. That will do it. We can move them up 4 inches. They're going to come up to here. And stop right about there-ish. Then we can bring our... how do we clear a path? Do we want to just hold the line on this side and bring these guys up? I think it's a great idea. We're going to bring them up first. A 5 is not going to do it. All right, then. Let's see if we can get the Bellicose Foot out of the corner. An 8 is going to allow them... Yeah, they move on a 6 up. Bellicose Foot have a movement of 4 inches, so at least we'll be able to bring them closer to these knights and maybe tie these knights down. Bellicose Foot are designed for taking territory. These Lightfoot are designed for holding territory, so we're going to kind of throw a punch in that direction and kind of hold things in that direction. Next order of business is to get that Necromancer some space to retreat, and 11 is finally going to do it. Elite Foot only move 3 inches, so we'll bring him up, and we'll just bring everybody up around him. Now at least he's got a few retreats in his pocket. The next thing we can do is move these Greater War Beasts, and on a 4, I don't think it's going to do it. Yeah, they move on a 6. Back over to the Knights. We've got a little bit of time to play with here, so we're going to move these Elite Riders first. A 9 will do it, and they'll get to come up 5 inches. The way the game works, these guys are not terribly interested in moving around unless they've got a target within 5 inches, and then they're absolutely going to charge. The next thing we'll do is bring the King's Men, and a 4 won't allow it. Those heavy riders, you need a 5 up. So we can come back over to where our Necromancer is, and we can try to move those War Beasts again. And a 5 is not going to do it. They need a 6. Now that they've got backup, I think we can bring those Spearmen up a little further. And 11 allows them to move up 4 more inches. And now it's time to finally commit. They're going to come racing down through the gap right here, protecting the egg. Nobody's going to open the box. It's like a 10,000-year egg. Then we're going to bring these Knights up. And a 7 will do it. They can move 5 inches, and they're going to hit this section right here. The goal is to tie up as many of these defensive units as possible. We'll bring the War Beasts up. They're going to have a good time. Now remember, we got to stay 1.5 inches away, so we've only got about a 2-inch gap here, but we're going to make it narrow. And maybe we can even bring these guys up to tie up the War Beasts. I don't know. Exciting stuff. Let's bring these Lightfoot up. A 5, does that do it? They move on a Lightfoot on a 5. Yeah, we're going to bring them up another 3 inches to right here. The Knights, I think, are definitely winning the game of positioning here. Halfway across the table. Got to be careful, though. Don't get too ahead of yourself. Do we move the Knights or the Archers first? Let's move the Archers. 4 ain't going to do it. Lightfoot moving first. An 8 allows them to move 4 inches. We're going to bring them around this way. And pretty soon, they're going to be able to start taking advantage of their bow fire and maybe do 1 or 2 points of damage. Remember that the Undead do not operate under the same rules of morale as other units. The Wizard is going to go next, and a 4 is not going to do it. He needs a 5. We're going to leave the cameras kind of right where it's at. We don't even need to move it all that much. We are going to bring the Archers up, and a 5 is not going to do it. Bow need a 6. We'll come right back around to the Wizard trying to move up. I guess he won that little fight. They only move 3 inches, though, so we'll bring him around to this side. And then he says, War Beasts, how about you get in the fight? And they say, nah, we're good right here. All right, Archers, instead of moving the camera, we'll just roll right here. This time the Archers do move. And they're going to come around 3 inches. We'll bring them up another 3 inches. Like so. Who wants to move next? Do we bring the Heavy Knights? On a 6. Those are Heavy Riders. They do move up 5 inches. And we're going to bring them up to here. Sweeping around. They want to hit that bellicose foot. The Lesser War Beasts are going to come next. And they will move up 6 inches into cover. Remember, they will be attacking per their normal, what do you call it? Their normal attack and defense numbers. Then we're going to bring these knights up, and a 6 ain't going to do it. That's a turnover. Do we have any wild charges? The war beasts here, the greater war beasts, are 5 inches away from the lesser war beasts. Greater war beasts, no wait. Oh, they are rangers, so they can only move 2.5 inches. They do not have to charge. Do the bellicose foot? They have wild charge. They move 4 inches. Can they? They are 5 inches away, so they cannot. So we don't have any wild charges. Let's move. We're going to start by summoning the Horde. And an 8 will do it. They appear within 6 inches. The Horde is going to appear 6 inches, right there. And that is the last unit on the table. That's all they can do. The Necromancer has taken his action. And we'll bring these guys. Do they want to hold or do they want to move? I think we got to hold them in position. So when those knights get closer, they'll at least get one shot off at them. We're going to try to move the War Beast next. An 8 will allow them to move 2.5 inches, and that 2.5 inches will bring them up to here. And I think that's everybody on the side of the Undead. They're done. Like I said, these guys can move up. Let's go ahead and move them up just a little bit if we can. At 9, we're going to bring them up like another inch or so. We'll spread them out. And the reason for this is that just this 1.5 inches buys them another retreat before they're driven from the table. And that's it for the Necromancer. We only have one wild charge that we need to do, and that is the Lesser War Beasts, who are charging the Greater War Beasts. They are going to attack on a 5-up. I'm going to use the green dice for all of my activation now. They do activate, they do charge, they get the attack. They have a strength of 6, and again, they're fleet of feet, so they don't have any effect there. The Greater War Beasts are going to be rolling 6, looking for 5s, but because they are the defenders in this case, I'm going to roll the 6 dice for the Lesser War Beasts first, who are going to be attacking on 4, because again, they're rangers. And are the Greater War Beasts rangers? Oh, I'm sorry. The Greater War Beasts are rangers. Their defense value is going to be 6. So it's the yellow dice will be for the knights, the white dice will be for the big bones, and the yellow dice are hitting on 5s, the white dice are hitting on 6s. We get a total of 2 hits on the part of the Lesser War Beast. We get 2 hits on the part of the Greater War Beast, but everybody's armor goes up by 1. The Lesser War Beast armor goes to 4. They don't suffer any casualties. The Undead, now, normally, you would not suffer any casualties. They would have to do, the Knights would have to do a total of 5 damage to wound the Greater War Beast. However, the good news for the Undead units, not these 2, but these 3, they don't take morale checks. Their courage is rated as 0. The bad news is, if you do a partial wound, it counts as a full. That means this guy takes a wound, and because they suffered more casualties, they're going to have to slide back and retreat 1.5 inches. The other bad news is that these guys, you have to do the full 6 damage to wipe them from the table. They will not be leaving until they take 6 hit points of damage. So they are a little brittle. If But ironically enough, they're also a little bit sticky. That's it for the wild charges. Now we're going to do the legit charge here, trying to push back the bellicose foot. And a 4 on the charge for that heavy riders ain't going to do it. Play kicks over. Do we have any wild charges for these guys? For the undead? Yes, as a matter of fact. The greater war beasts have to charge in. And on a 7, they will move back on the attack. Because they are on the attack now, they are going to be rolling and hitting on 3s, whereas the lesser war beasts will only be hitting on the 6s. So 3s on the white, 6s on the yellow. The white score 2 hits, the yellow scores 1 hit, and that means that, by allowing these greater war beasts, all right, we're learning now. Keep your war beasts, even though they're on the attack, these undead war beasts don't belong in rough terrain. It's only going to go poorly for them. They have to retreat. That was a successful attack roll, however, so the Necromancer can go once more. And he's going to go ahead and move these guys. Well, wait, does anybody else have a... Well, these guys have a wild charge. All right, rules question for you smart guys in the comments. At the start of the turn, these guys took a wild charge here. These bellicose foot also have wild charge. Do they also have to charge these war beasts? I'm going to rule that they do. And you get to pick which unit goes first. The war beast went first. And you know what? It doesn't matter. Because the bellicose foot only attack on a 5-up. So they don't attack. And that is the end of the Necromancer King's turn. We're going to go ahead and look at the wild charge here now. We have 1 wild charge that's required. And a result of a 5 will put the heavy riders into the bellicose foot. They are just about 5 inches away. So that's the first one. And we do have a wild charge here in the form of the lesser beasts. This one's a little bit different. We're going to roll 6 dice for the heavy riders. And do the bellicose foot get a counter charge? They do not. Okay. They are going to be attacking on 4s. We're rolling 6d6. We're looking for 4s. We get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. But remember, our king is very strong. He gets to re-roll this miss. It doesn't do him any good. So 4 hits on the bellicose foot. We'll do a total of 2 wounds. I'm going to knock these guys over so I remember. But the bellicose foot get to counter with 12 dice. And because they are defending, they only hit on 6s. They get a grand total of 5 6s against a unit with an armor of 3. So they do 1 wound to the king's men. With a difference of 2 to 1, these guys are going to have to retreat. But they also have to make a courage check at -2. Are they within 6 inches of the leader? No, they are not. So it's going to be a straight check at -2. Result of a 12 is a 10. They succeed. All they do is retreat by 1.5 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear out everybody that's within 1.5 inches of the knights. So they all retreat back to here. And that is a casualty as well. Then we have to check for the lesser war beasts who are charging the greater war beasts. They do succeed, and they push them back, way back. It's going to be rolling on the 6s, and again, it'll be for the lesser war beasts. They are going to be hitting on 4s, 6s on the white dice. The white dice score 2 hits against a unit that's got an armor of 4 for no casualties, and the white dice are able to score 4 hits, is it? On the attack? I'm sorry, the yellow dice score 4 hits, which will do 1 damage, which reduces these guys to half strength. So now he's only going to roll our Cyclops. Here's a good look at him up close and personal. He's only going to be rolling, but he's got to retreat back 1.5 inches. He'll only roll 3 dice in combat. That is it for our wild charges. Now we have to roll for our regular roll movement, and we're going to start with those knights there, needing a 7 up. They get a 9. They're going to move 6 inches directly at these guys, or 5 inches, I should say, to there. Bow, 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 wheeling about, and then we can check for these guys. Let's move the bowmen up first. A 7 will do it. They're going to move up 3 inches to here. And then, do we want these guys to get stuck in here? Or do we want to just wait? We can stop right here, guys. We don't have to move anybody. Now, let's go ahead and... Well, let's move these guys... Well, there's not a whole lot of room. Let's move them up, the 4 inches. 8's going to allow that to happen. And then we can see if we bring this unit up 4 inches as well. A 5 for Lightfoot is going to be a move, so they will move up. Play kicks over to the Necromancer. He's got a grand total of, I want to say, 2 units that have wild charge. Both the Bellicose Foot and the Greater Warbeast. We're going to use the Bellicose Foot first. And on a 4, they are going to fail. Does that end the turn, or does every wild charge have to go? I'm going to do every wild charge. The Greater Warbeast tries to charge, and on a 6, he is going to be able to... Oh, that is an attack action. So he goes up. Wait a minute, 5 on the Bellicose Foot. Oh, that actually does work. So both of these units are going to get stuck in. And this time the Bellicose Foot, because they were able to get off the charge, they are going to roll 12 dice. And they are going to be hitting on 3s this time. Yikes. You saw what they could do with the 5s. They're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a lot of hits. 2, 4, 6, 7 hits. Against a unit that's got an armor of 3 will do 2 hits. And, oh, did I forget to roll? I did last time. I forgot to roll morale. The Knights get to counterattack. Now, they were at full strength, so they will roll their... Well, they had 1 casualty, but they're going to roll their full 6 dice. Because they got caught hanging around, they're only hitting on 5s. 4 hits against a unit with an armor of 2 will do 2 casualties. And we have a tie in the number of casualties, which means the attacker now has to retreat. Ain't that something? Go King Hopper. And nobody has to make a morale check because they essentially fought to a draw. Now we've got Lesser Warbeasts against Greater Warbeasts, and this time the Greater Warbeast only gets to roll 3 dice. The Greater Warbeast does not do his 4 hits, but the Lesser Warbeasts get... Oh, and you know what I forgot? The King should have re-rolled 1 miss, but it wouldn't have made a difference. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 2 hits for the Greater is not enough, and 2, 4, 6 hits for the Lesser does 1 wound, which pushes him back another 1.5 inches. This completes the wild charge portion of the ride. We now go over to the voluntary movement. We're going to start with a shoot action out of this Lightfoot. They have a range of 6 inches. These knights are within range. A shoot action for the Lightfoot requires a 6. They are going to be able to fire with a shoot value of 5, and that'll be rolling 12 dice altogether, hitting on 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits against those knights who have an armor of 4 is going to knock one of them down. That will force a morale check. And a 4 minus 1 is a 3. That means they have to retreat a half a move, which for them is 2.5 inches. And that's a really, really big change. And they are now battered. Man, did the Undead need that one. Then the Horde. What do? Do we move these guys up first? Let's go ahead and try that. And a 6 will allow the Bodyguard to move up 3 inches. And then we can see if this Horde can get stuck in. And a 5 ain't gonna do it. They're just not interested in going to bat against the Spearmen. But that does turn things over. Now we have to think about, well, first things first. Do these guys recover from being battered? A result of a 6 becomes a 5. Elite Riders have an attack of, or have a morale of, a courage of 3 up. Wait a minute. These guys aren't battered at all. Their courage is 3. Wow, those guys are brave. I rolled a 4. -1 for the casualty means that the result of a 3 is a successful. They do still need, and I don't even think they need to retreat, do they? They don't. They pass the morale check. They're not in melee, which means if you bring them up that 1.5 inches, or the 2.5 inches that I pulled them back, they are 5 inches away. They are going to be within charge distance, and they have to wild charge. So we roll for the 6 up on the attack. Elite Riders attack on a 5 up. They are going to get the charge off. So the bowfire was not completely wasted because they did manage to reduce these guys by 1, and well, I mean, they're still going to roll 6, and they still do attack on a 3 up. So the knights here are going to do 5 wounds altogether to a unit with an armor of 2. So that'll knock off 2 of these guys. But that unit will get to counterattack, and because they're light foot, their defense value is 4. So we're going to roll 12 dice. You saw what they did on a 5 up. Let's see what they do on a 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits is enough to eliminate another rider. The undead do not have to make a morale check. These guys pull back 1.5 inches. No, that's not right. They did 2 damage to the other guy. So whoever takes the most wounds, which is this light foot, they have to come back a half a move, which in this case is 1.5 inches. That is the first of the wild charges. Then we're going to do the king's unit here. They are going to attack on a 5 up, so they charge into combat with the bellicose foot. They are reduced to half strength, so the king is only going to roll 3 dice on this attack. He is going to get 3 hits altogether, which will knock off, is it just, yeah, just one of these guys. Then the bellicose foot gets to roll 12 dice, but they only hit on 6s when they're on defense. And they don't get they get 1 hit, which is not enough to eliminate anybody. The bellicose foot now have to make a morale check, and that's going to be at -5. 6 -5 is going to be a result of 1. That is less than their courage. They fall back 2 inches, and they are battered. Then we've got 1 more wild charge. The lesser war beasts close with a greater war beast, and it's going to be 3 white dice versus the 6 yellow dice. Hitting on 1s, not going to do it. Hitting on 4s, that'll be 3 hits. That does another wound to the greater war beast, who is down to just his last unit. And he has to retreat back another 1.5 inches. He is still gonna be in the weeds, unfortunately for him. Then, well, we'll kind of, where are we at here? That's it for the wild charges. We're gonna bring our archers up next. Archers move on a 6 up. An 8 will do it. They're gonna come up 3 inches to here. That gives them maximum flexibility. In fact, they may be able to start shooting at these guys. In the last video, I forgot, if you're shooting from 6 to 9 inches, between 6 and 9, you only hit on 6s. Normally it's 5s. Long range, it's 6s. So we've moved those guys up. Then we're gonna move these spearmen up, if the dice allow it. And the dice say, yeah, I'll allow it. And we're just gonna bring them straight up, and then we're gonna bring these guys, are gonna make an attack on the horde. And they're not gonna do it. Notice these spearmen had to funnel in. That's their first move before these guys failed to move. There's just not enough room between these 2 units. It is the Necromancer's turn. First thing we got to do is check the morale on this battered unit here. Rolling a 5, subtracting 5, gives us a 0. They're not within contact of this guy. And is a result of a 0 a wiped from the map? Is it a negative number? A 0 or negative, remove immediately. So these guys ain't want none. They've had quite enough, thank you very much. And that might change the dynamic. Then we have to do wild charge. This guy has got to wild charge, unfortunately for him, because he is just not having any luck. And on a 2, he fails. That does not... A wild charge does not end your activation phase. We can try to take a shot with these archers at these knights. A result of a 5 for Lightfoot on the shooting is a failure. That does end your turn. We got to do a wild charge over here. And we got to do what? Let's do this one first. A 3 is a failure. So those lesser war beasts now ain't interested. These elite riders are also not interested. That's it for that. Then we're going to do a regular charge on this guy. And a 6 on the attack for heavy riders will be successful. He is within 5 inches. But everybody is hitting on... Now, oh, I shouldn't say that. Our King's Knights, this works out okay for him because they're hitting on 5s. The Knights hit on 5s instead of 6s. They are only rolling 3 dice because they're at half strength. They're going to get 2 hits. Then he is also only rolling 3 dice because he's at half strength. He's only going to get 1, so that wipes him out. He is dead. He crumbles to dust, and it's not going well for the Necromancer, is it? You know, that being the case, we can do something here. We're going to try to move this... What do we do? We got to try to move this spear unit up. And an 8 will allow them to do that. So they're going to move the 4 inches. Well, they'll move 2 inches to here, and then a 1/3 inch will put them just inside the rough going. All right? And they're going to now run a screen for these guys with the MacGuffin, who are going to move. On a 10, they'll do it, and they're going to start racing over. Let's see where the furthest one is going to wind up here. So all of these guys are going to be wind up sliding over to here. Oh, you know, I got to back them up a little bit, though, because I got to stay 1.5 inches away from these spearmen. There you go. Oh, I forgot the wild charge over here, didn't I? No, they failed. That's what it was. Then the only other unit that can go are the archers, and we're going to try to move these archers out of the way? No. Oh, they failed their wild charge too. That's what it was. So these archers have to move out of the way. And a 4 means we're at the end of the turn. See the 4? The Necromancer now gets to go. And he's got to try... What does he got to do? He doesn't have any wild charges. Obviously, they're going to try to bring the MacGuffin around this way. He's got to get... This is where it would be nice if he had one more unit to summon right over here. We'll try to race them through here. Oh, that's not going to work, though, is it? We're going to try to move... These guys are going to... Well, first we'll try to shoot at these guys. And a 12 allows for the shot. That's going to be 12 dice at those knights. Hitting on 5s. And that's kind of a lot of hits, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Eliminates another unit. Got to make a morale check. And this time they are going to be at -3. So 5 minus 3 is 2, which is less than 6. So these guys are going to retreat 2.5 inches. 1, 2, and about a half. And they will be battered. Hence the red jewel. Then we can try to move these guys. And a 4 means they hold still. The play kicks over. These knights need to try to recover. A result of a 6 minus 3 is a 3. They do recover, but they're done. Then we have to do a wild charge from these lesser beasts. And a 9 will do it. So they come barreling into this elite foot right here. And this will be 6 dice on 6 dice. With the war beasts hitting on 4s. And the elite foot hitting on 4s. The war beasts score just a single hit. The elite foot score 2 hits. And that means... The lesser war beasts have an armor of 3. Nobody wins These guys have to back off the 1.5 inches. They're not retreating, they're just pulling back to here. And that is the last of the charges that are mandatory. Then we're going to move the unit of spears that does not have the box. And they're going to sidle on over here just a bare 2 inches, like so. And that should block any pursuit. So the spearmen with the MacGuffin can move on a 10, and they will. They'll race 4 inches over to here. And we still have some options. We're going to bring the heavy. Where are we going to do? We're going to bring. Do we bring the king around now? No, let's wait. Let's bring. Now the archers have a shot here. Let's see if they shoot. An 8 is a success. The distance is 9 inches. They're shooting at this horde. Every single 6 that they roll will eliminate a figure. So none of them. You couldn't get a single 6 out of that roll, guys? That's a little embarrassing, don't you think? With that said, let's now go ahead and try to move these guys around to buy some time. A 10 allows them to move, and they're just going to swing around this way to guard that flank so the other guys can move. That's the end of the turn. We need to do something dramatic, don't we? We're going to bring the Lightfoot over to here. The Lightfoot only have a movement of 3 inches, I want to say. Lightfoot, 3 inches. Can they charge? They're more than 3 inches away. We're going to bring them down over here, if the dice allow. So the 3 inches will bring them to here. If they can fight their way through the king, I think the loss of the king forces every unit to make a morale check. We'll get to that if King Hopper goes down. He's moved. These guys are now going to charge the... Well, first let's see if we can bring these guys over. And on a 10 we can, so they can move 3. Lightfoot move 4 inches. So there, well, we better stop right about here, shall we? That way the elite foot do have a little bit of room to retreat. Then we'll bring these guys to fight the warband, if they will. And they won't. They need a 7 to attack, so that's not going to happen. Play kicks over to the king, and we're going to start by... these guys move on a 7. We don't want to do that. Let's move the ball first. A 6 allows the Lightfoot to move. They move on a 5 up, so we'll bring in 4 inches over to here. Then we'll try to shoot with the archers, and they fail. They shoot on a 6 up. Now we can... Oh, you know what I forgot? Oh, these guys have to move first. They have wild charge. And on a 7, they will attack, and they'll attack the nearest group, which is this unit right here. So this technically is supposed to happen before those movements. I just forgot. It's going to be 6 dice on 6 dice. And it'll be the elite foot. Everybody hits on 4s. The undead are going to score a total of 4 hits. And the lesser war beasts are hitting on 4s. They're going to score 5 hits. With an armor of 4, we lose 1 bodyguard. With 2 hits on the war beasts, who have an armor of 3, that is again 1 hit, and nobody has to test for morale, but the war beasts do have to back off with their handler. So the undead, you know, I haven't made a single joke about the dogs stealing the bones from the undead. Aren't you proud of me? They back off, and then that failed move check, it means that it is the king's turn on this side. The Necromancer is going to... That's both cocked. We're going to re-roll. The Necromancer is going to try to crack through in this direction. And with a 10, he does carry out a successful attack order. And he... You know, I might have done... Oh. It's going to be 3 dice for the knights who are caught standing still. Heavy riders, they're going to hit on 5s. Those elite foot are going to be hitting on 3s. So it's 2 hits for the king's men. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits for the elite foot. The elite foot have 4 wounds, so they will suffer none. And the king is down to just 1 guy. Because he suffered more wounds, he has to make a morale check at +1 for the king, -1 because they are at half strength. Courage of 4, -4 to this roll. And a 7 -4 is a 3. He is going to retreat 2.5 inches, which takes him to right here. And he's battered. Which means he does not... Oh, you know what, though? He does get to reroll one of his dice, but he can't do any damage. Because he's only got 3 dice, and he's going up against guys with an armor of 4. Interesting. Then this Lightfoot will shoot at the war beasts. And on a 6, they'll get it off. They are going to roll 12 dice, and they are going to be hitting on 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 hits altogether. We'll eliminate 2 of these war beasts. They are now at half strength. They now have to make a morale check at -3. They do not get a bonus for the king over here, who is battered. So it's this -3, and what are we looking for? Their courage is 4 up. They need a 7. They got it. So they are still in the fight. Then our horde is going to try to race down in this direction. They need a 7 to do so. They get it, and they can move 3 inches to here, and that's really all they're going to be able to do. Staying 1.5 inches away from the Lightfoot. But that is the end of the Necromancer's turn. We're going to move the ball. An 8 will do it. He's going to come up another 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. To here. Who else do we want to move? We have to see if the king recovers. And on a result of a 2, he does not. A failed recovery check. With the leader off the table, every unit has to pass a courage test. Any unit that fails the courage test, well, we'll deal with that in a second. So these guys have not lost a single model. This is a straight up check. That is going to be a -1. It's a positive. So let me reset this. We got to move them back to 4 inches. They were up here. Since they failed that courage check, it's greater than 0. They must retreat half a move, and they become battered. So they're going to pull back 2 inches to here, and they get the bloody red gem. This unit also has to test. They pass. The archers over here, we roll a 5. -1 is a 4, and the archers have a courage of 4, so they're okay. And then this half unit over here is going to be at a total of -2. They roll a 9, -2. Oh, I'm sorry. They're actually a total of -3, 4. What are the total modifiers? It's -3 because they've lost 3 guys. For each strength point, so they've lost 3. I guess that's it. 9 -3 is a 6. The elite riders have a courage of 3. They're fine as well. All right. That's it for the courage tests because this guy fled the table. No checking for... We've already handled this. We got to check for these guys too. I almost forgot those lesser war beasts. And a 3 -3 means that is a failed check for them. In fact, they're at 0. They also flee the table. This is why we play the games, people. The knights look like they had it all locked up, and in fact, they don't. Not only that, but because that was the leader getting stuck in, it's now... Whose turn is it? Well, it's still... Okay, so that was all a result of a failed... of a dead leader, right? Okay, it was the knight's turn, Our leader failed his check. That does not end your turn. Everybody did their courage checks. Now our turn proper can begin, and we're going to start by doing what? Well, we have to, well, that was on a rally check. Do these guys now rally? I think they do. And on a 5, I think they recover. The Lightfoot has a courage of 4. So, but that's all they can do. So the end result of that failed check is that these guys retreated 2 inches, had to spend their entire turn recuperating, and now we can bring these guys and see if they move. A result of a 4 is no, so the Necromancer is going to be able to move, and Lightfoot will move 3 inches, and he's going to kind of seal off this escape route right here. The Knights are going to have to clear out at least one of these units. We're going to bring these guys are now going to charge through the rough terrain. And 8 will do it, but because they are moving at half speed, that horde is only going to be able to move 1.5 inches. So they're only going to move to about right here. So they just barely get in there, and they're tightening the noose. And then likewise, I think we'll go ahead and bring these guys. We're going to bring them over here as well. A 9 will do it. We'll bring them up to 3 inches to kind of close things off. So we've got plenty of options here. Good defense. No attacks on this turn. What do we do with our good guys? We'll start with the archers are going to move. On a 7, they do. They move on a 6. We got to bring them up to give ourselves a little bit more options, and they're only going to move 3 inches to here. But that's something. They don't have any other attack on them, right? Let's go ahead and bring these guys into here. And a 3 means they won't. They're not interested in fighting in the weeds. We're going to bring these guys out. Moving on a 7, they absolutely do. They'll be able to get to the edge of the rough terrain. And oh boy, and people are falling all over. Boy, this teddy bear fur is great, isn't it? Man, you get sticky fingers and it's just all over. There we go. Okay, so they've moved. I should have brought these guys up here. They could start shooting at those guys. I don't want to bring them in too much because I want to bring this elite foot over there. A 6 will do it. They're going to move up 3 inches. It looks like we got ourselves a race. They are going to stay right there, and we're done. So yeah, we'll bring these guys. We're going to move these guys up to here. 4 inches. Maybe we'll bring them around like so. I think it's good. These guys are going to try to come out. They will. Now they're only going to be able to move 2 inches, which means they'll be kind of on the border here. Some of them will still be in. We'll call it a little something like that. And the reason for that is that it clears an alley of shooting for our archers. On an 8, they will shoot. So they're going to shoot 12 arrows at this horde, hitting on 6s. And they get a grand total of 1 hit. These archers are terrible. That's the first, after 3 shots, they have rolled 36 dice and they've hit 1 time. The knights appear to be very motivated to run around, but they're not nearly as interested in doing damage. The last thing we can do is bring our mega knights. We can move them, and we're going to bring them 5 inches to here, like so. No wild charges there. That is the end of the good guys' turn. It's time for the bad guys to go, and now we're in a bit of a foot race. I should have declared, on this 10, these guys are moving up first. They're in hot pursuit. And hey, I don't care that you guys are moving away from me. You're moving closer to my objective. I'll take it. Then we're going to bring these guys... Now we're going to bring these guys up next. A 7 will do it. They can move up 3 inches, and then they can start launching arrows, and then we'll bring our horde up, and a 7 will allow the horde to move. Remember, they move on a 7, but they can only move 1.5 inches. We'll just bring them out. So they are no longer in the weeds. We're just going to kind of clump them right here. We'll kind of move these guys over. There's our 1.5 inches, okay? Okay, there we go. That's the end of the turn. The knights are going to try to move these guys. And they're going to fail. The next order of business will be to... do we want to shoot with these guys over here? Are these guys in cover? Let's slow them down. Our horde is going to try to move. A 10 will do it. They're going to attack. It's going to be 12 dice on 12 dice, and we'll roll for the attackers first. The horde is going to hit on 6s. They get a total of 1 hit. Not great. It's not going to do any damage, but it is going to slow down those knights. The knights are going to counter, and those are Lightfoot, who hit on a 4 up. Every single hit will eliminate a dude. On a 4 up, they get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. So we'll take 4 away. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll pull these guys back just a little bit. Then we're going to bring our leader, Elite Foot, in hot pursuit. A 3 is a turnover. We don't have any wild charges. So we'll move these guys to start. They're going to pull around 4 inches. They're going to run around to here. Then we're gonna, and they got to leave that like 1.5 inches between them and the archers. So this time we're gonna move the archers out of the way, and the archers say, "Whoa, yeah, let me clear some space for you, guy." They're gonna move up 3 inches to here, like so. So kind of right in here. And then we've got this unit who is not in the jungle anymore. Well, of course, I guess Lightfoot. Are they fleet? No, the best they can do is Wall of Spears, but on a 4, they're not going to move. So the boss man is going to move 3 inches up. Would have been nice if we had an actual wizard instead of a summoner whose special ability is gone after the first 2 turns. Then we're going to try to shoot with these guys, and that's going to be a success. We're going to roll 12 dice, and hitting on 5s. We'll eliminate a Lightfoot for every 2 hits. We got 1, 2 for 1 kill. That's the first spear to go down. How about that? We'll make our morale check. At an 8, that will survive. Lightfoot have a courage of 4. That 8 becomes a 7. So they're good. Then the last unit will be the unit of hordes, which are going to move. Is it a move or is it an attack? They're further than 3 inches away. So it is just a move 3 inches to about there. And that's the end of their turn. Our heroes are going to try to move the MacGuffin. They're going to race 4 inches out of the way to here. Now remember, on a move action, you can pass the MacGuffin to somebody else. That may be a smart move. We're going to roll for the archers to shoot at these guys, and 8 will do it. 12. Now let's see. Guys, can you get a pair of 6s this time? That would be really fun if you could just get a couple of 6s. They can't. They got 1. On average, these guys aren't even average. D+ effort for you archers. And then we've got this last unit of spears who wants to serve as a blocking force, and they're going to move as Lightfoot. Is that an attack move? Let's find out. At 4 inches, that is an attack move. So we have another fight down here. And that'll be 12 dice on 12 dice. The attackers will roll first. And Lightfoot on the attack are only going to hit on 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits altogether. Against those undead, the 1, 2, 3, 4 hits will eliminate 2 figures. Then the Undead are going to counterattack, and because they are Lightfoot, they will be hitting on 4s with every 2 hits, removing a figure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh boy. It's easier to take out the misses. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. That's 3 gone from the spears. With 3 gone, they have to make a courage check. Their courage is 4, so they got to roll a 7 or better on this. And a 7 means they are okay, but because they were the attackers, they have to retreat that 1.5 inches to here. And then we have to decide what to do with these guys. They're not going to do anything. They're going to hang tight right there. They're far enough away, there's no wild charge. So the leader over here says, I gotta slow him down. And the 3 is going to be a miss with the horde. Or this guy. Either way, it's a miss. With a successful move action, you can pass the egg to another unit. These spears are going to try to do that. They succeed, so they pass the egg to these knights. The knights are now going to move, and a 7 will do it. They're going to move 5 inches down to here. With the football. These spear are going to attack here. And 8 will do it. They're going to roll 12 dice, hitting on 5s. Oh, that might have been a mistake. 12 dice, hitting on 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits on Lightfoot. We'll do 2 wounds, reducing them to half strength on subsequent turns. On this turn, they'll still roll all 12, and because they're Lightfoot, they are going to be hitting on 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That does 2 more wounds. That unit is now reduced to half strength as well. This die roll is at -6, and they really needed that result of 6 altogether, because with a courage of 5, they stay on the table. They just retreat 1.5 inches. I think that's a pretty big one. The bad news is these skeletons are going to be a real problem for the guys carrying the ball. Because by moving over here this 4 inches, the knights now are going to have to make a wild charge into a wall of spears. That never goes well. In fact, this will be the way that... Well, wait a minute. Where are we at? They've gone... Oh, before we get to that point, though, we still have a couple more moves. These guys have an opportunity to move, but I'm going to shoot with the archers first. A 6 will allow them to shoot. They shoot on a 6-up. 12 dice into the horde. And there's a couple of 6s. Thanks, guys. That's going to eliminate 2 more. There's just 4 more to go. And we do have another spear unit that can move. On an 8, they will be successful. So they'll move up 4 inches. These are the guys that were carrying the ball. They're going to be able to pull up to about there, and that will end the king's turn. We're going to try to bring the leader back first, and a 3 is a MacGuffin. Uh-oh. Now, at 5 inches, these guys don't need to charge. We're going to start by shooting here. A 6 is a success. Time to show me those 6s there, archers. This is where we need you. And again, we get lots of 5s and no 6s. Oh, you know what, though? Oh, you know what? I'm dumb. They're within 6 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of those 5s hit. In fact, that probably should have been happening last turn, too. I forgot, you hit on 5s when you're within 6 inches. So that is the end of that horde unit. Then we've got, who do we want to move first? We're going to move these guys first. And a 6 will do it. We're going to bring them right up to here. Just like so. For that wonderful screening movement. And then we're going to roll to move these guys. And an 11 will do it. We're just going to bring them up to right here. Because we're going to make a race on the next turn. And we'll go ahead and throw these 6 at these 6. A 9 will be a successful attack. So they're going to get stuck in. Now it's going to be 6 on 6. With the spearmen, the knights hitting on 5s, and the white dice hitting on 4s. So this time the white get 3, and the yellow get none. So it's 1 to 1, and I think that does it. With a 7 minus 7 is a 0. These guys run from the table. Hey, it was worth a shot, right? Does that eliminate half? Yeah, that's a good point. We should have checked this. The loss of the horde means that the wizard still has 15 points on the board. The loss of that unit for the knights means that the knights still have 6, 10, 13 points. So the knights still have half their units on the board too. No courage check for that. Now, can we get these guys into position to block the knights? A 4 is a big no-no. The Lightfoot move on a 5, which means we're going to move these guys first. On a 6, the Lightfoot can move. And we're going to slide them. They got to stay 1.5 inches away, 3 inches to here. And they're going to form a screen that looks a little something like this. And we're not done yet, guys. So we slide them in. Then can our knights make a move on a 7 up? They do. They can move 5 inches now. And we're going to move the full 5. And I really think this is about the end of the game. Because they are really close to the end. Now, these guys here, well, we should swing these guys around a little bit. Can the elite, but we got to do it. You got to play it out. These elite foot, wait, so we move them, and now we want to move the archers that are off screen. A 5 will not allow them to move. So the, can these guys move the 3 inches that'll force, if they move, well, that's 1.5 inches right there. They could move over here, but they'd be half screened. Let's see if we move this guy first. The Necromancer tries to move in on a 7. He does. We'll at least bring him up 3 inches. He's running back here. Hey, hey, hey! You can't be running around a battlefield like that. What do you think this is, a medieval war game? There's no motion. There's just line them up and charge at each other. There's no interesting battles with interesting, important choices. All right, this guy is now going to try to move, and on a 5 they don't, and I think that does it. Because we can, well, we got to check, right? Let's see if we can move the archers first. On a 7, they will move up 3 inches to here. And it might not matter, but man, in a game like this, you just never know. Then we're going to try to move our heroes, and on a result of a 6, it's a turnover, which means he can move. On a 7, he will. So a full unit of elite foot, that might be a problem. Then these guys are going to go. Now they are going to have to make an attack action on these guys, so it's going to be ugly because it's going to be a half-strength unit of spearmen who only hit on 6s, 5s. They're going to do 2 hits, and that's going to do 1 wound to these guys, but they are going to roll 12 dice, and Lightfoot are going to hit on 4s, and they're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits. Lightfoot, that's going to eliminate 3 of these guys who do not check for morale, but they are going to have to retreat the 1.5 inches, and because they took more casualties. So it didn't do them a whole lot of good. Then we kick back over to our knights, and on a roll of 7, they are going to be able to move 5 inches. And they're still not off the table. Let me adjust and show you what things look like at this point. These knights are going to need one more move action. There's the MacGuffin. We're going to bring these spears over to see if they can defend. And on a result of a 9, they will be able to move over the 3 inches that I think will allow them to block the wild charge. Yeah, technically these guys, you know, they charge in a straight line. Then the archers get a chance to go, and on a 6 they will move, so they'll slide around this side. 1, 2, 3 inches, something like that. And then it's the Necromancer's turn, so he's going to try to move the 3 inches up to here to trigger that wild charge, but it's just not... You've got a unit here within 1.5 inches. So that unit is going to block the wild charge. This unit can try to interfere with them, and on a 7 they'll get the attack, but once again, you're looking at a situation where it's 3 dice versus 12 dice. Who knows? Maybe they can force a result. The 12 dice are going to land a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, which will eliminate one of these guys, 2 of these guys. The 3 dice for the skeletons are going to eliminate 1 guy, which means he runs back into the heavy cover. There's no morale check necessary for the spears, which is really the only way I could see this coming off. And then we have... Here is our situation at the end of the game. Do these knights have to make a wild charge when they cannot pass within 1.5 inches? If you assume that the zone of control extends to here, then these knights don't have to make the wild charge. That's how we're going to play this. If you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Sometimes these games get frustrating because we've been going for a long time and it feels like it should be over, and you get down to these penny-ante little things. It's a little tricky. The decision that the knights have to make is, if they eliminate this guy, that is more than half the unit, half of the army, and he has to make a morale check. Alternatively, they can just slide over, and that's what we want to do. So we get a choice. We can charge, right? Make that move roll on a 7-up, and if you get the 7-up, you win. Or you can try to move these guys to definitively block both units and buy them an extra turn. However, if these guys have to retreat the 1.5 inches, they're going to bleed away because they've retreated into an allied unit. That's what I'm going to do. Let's see what happens in that event. These guys want to move. They move on a 5-up. On a 5-up, they move. And so we're going to slide them along with a gap of just 3 inches between. Oh, there isn't really room, is there? We're going to keep them 1.5 inches. So they're going to come along like right about there and just wall up and say, guess what, guys? If you want to get to my knights, you're going to have to come through me. Nice long wall of spears there. Then we can try to charge these guys off the table. And a 10 will do it. They move 5 inches. The MacGuffin is off the table. The egg of Ukkert, the 10,000-year egg, is ready for King Hopper to eat, and that will allow him to heal from his wounds since he died. He was wounded in the saddle, let's say, and his men dragged him from the field of battle, and despite being leaderless, these elite knights, playing warfare at an elite level, relatable, were able to get the chest off the table. Suck on that egg, Mr. Necromancer. We are now at 1-to-1 for these 2 army units. I think this new and improved army list worked better for the knights. This may be the way we go, and we'll tweak the Undead army list for the next battle, which you can expect to see in probably about a week, but we'll be taking a look at some more Fistful of Lead in just 2 days. Till then, where's my... There we go. There's the rosary. I'm praying for you.